Welcome to Insights into a Soul, the podcast that no one asked for. This is a podcast about life, love, and everything in between. So grab a cup of coffee and relax, and join me as we gain insights into a soul. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Insights into a Soul, the podcast that no one asked for. But hey, here it is. We're still going strong. Several episodes out now. Back with another group therapy session. Had a lot of great feedback on the last episode. So I'm back today. We've got Will and Rachel.
Yay.
Did you really have good feedback on the last one?
Actually, yeah. A lot of people are saying they like the longer format. Because that one was over an hour.
So we gotta do 2 hours.
They like the just to get 2 hours. Take it to the next level. But a lot of people like the group aspect, just the conversation and the
shenanigans.
Evil shenanigans.
So, from your analytics, would you say Jeff episodes rate lower or higher?
That's a great question. Hold on, we'll pull that up here, and we'll look at the statistics. Let's see here. Let's look Insights into a Soul. Statistics. And the survey says... yeah.
That's the opposite of what I want.
No, actually, the first episode I did with him is one of the higher rated episodes.
So after people heard from him, they didn't want to hear anything else. That's what you're saying.
I don't know, man. The group therapy one...
Jeff, if you're listening, I have nothing to do with this.
No.
Jeff, I love you.
I've actually gotten direct feedback about Jeff from people, and they like him. They like the dynamic that we have going.
Like sexual harassment feedback. I'm sorry.
Actually, the highest rated episodes are my first episode, and the Something I Haven't Told You, where I tell the episode 5, where I talk about the other part of my story that I hadn't shared yet. That one's
juicy one.
I'm getting some, yeah. And then Jeff's episode is actually the next highest after that. So top three. Will, you gotta step it up, Will.
I'm at the bottom.
You're not quite all the way at the bottom.
9 of 10.
Actually, what is the lowest episode?
Don't spit your beer all over the nice equipment.
Yeah.
Set these candles on.
Yeah. The lowest episode is the podcast trailer, obviously. Because I just did that because it's a formal thing to do on a podcast. Yeah, it is. It is. A lot of podcasts have podcast trailers.
Oh,
that's true.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah, there you go. So, before this episode, we were sitting around the table talking and really getting emotional tonight because we started talking about music and stuff that we listened to during a break. So, I mean, if you haven't heard the episode before, go back, listen to my episode with Will. Did we get into the breakup on that episode?
My introductory episode?
Yeah.
I think you hinted at it, but I don't think we dove in.
I haven't released that episode as of the time of this recording. Rachel hasn't had her own solo episode yet, so you have no idea what the hell is going on with her. But the interesting thing is that we all...
Why haven't you had a solo episode?
It's funny. She's like... Yeah, anyway. Yeah, we were just talking about that last night. Like, I recorded Josh.
Sit down and record it.
I know. But we've all separated. Rachel and I, like, we separated from our relationships around the same time. And then, Will, you haven't even been a year yet on your breakup.
Well, none of us have been a year, but...
I'm saying you haven't been.
I'm a veteran.
You're the longer of us.
Yes.
Because you said April will be a year.
Yeah.
So May, June, July. So you had like 5 months on us.
Sure.
Yeah, about 5 months. But we were originally going to do this last week, which was Valentine's Day. Just things didn't work out. And we were going to talk about the aspect of like it being all of our first Valentines alone, single, without a significant other.
It's going to be a really
positive
episode.
Yeah.
Strap in, folks.
Getting real, keeping it authentic. So I figured we'd just come together and talk about. Talk about aloneness, because I think aloneness is.
I thought we were going to talk about music.
Well, we started talking about music before the podcast, which I think leads into aloneness, if we're honest.
Some songs,
Because
sure.
all of us, the three of us here, we're like very big into music. I think like music is one of those things that speaks to us. It's how we kind of communicate our feelings out as well. But before this episode, we were actually listening and talking about some of the songs that we listened to after our breakups, which is great because that just, just gets you in a great mood.
Yeah, really hyped me up and got me
super hyped.
Prepared for
later.
Yeah, a few shots later.
the night here.
Yeah. And so we were just like going through some of like my songs I listened to. So this is what I was going to tell you, Will, what I was waiting for the episode to tell you about though. At the end of the year, Spotify does their, year in review, right? And they look at like the months and the quarters and everything and like what you listen to. So for me, the first half of the year was all like, EDM and dance and rock and stuff. And then when it hit the August time, when I separated, or September, my playlist completely shifted into like emo phase. Like the tone was, I'm serious, like Good Charlotte, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Bayside, My Chemical Romance. Like it was, it was a complete shift from anything the rest of the year, which was very reflective of just kind of the time.
So, in my opinion, music is a really powerful tool for that because it just fucking draws out maybe not what you're feeling at that moment, but it's kind of what you want to feel at that moment, and it just pulls it out immediately. This sounds weird, really sensitive to music. That sounds weird to say, but like I get like the chills from certain songs, like the frigid and all that.
Yep.
And
I know that one.
Yeah, it's just some songs like immediate memories, and I can't even listen to those now, or I don't want to, and
Yeah, it was that way for me as well. I mean, there were certain songs that, like, couples, you have your songs a lot of times and things like that. But there were a lot of, like, bands and stuff that we listened to. And going back and, like, listening to some of those songs and the lyrics, they meant something different at the time. Like, when I was in that relationship, it's very sentimental thought. And now, afterwards, it was a painful thought because it took on a different form. I think of what the relationship had turned into. So like Hey There Delilah by the Plain White T's was like our song. And so now going back and listening to it now, it's like, yeah, it's not the cheery, oh, sweet, I love you song anymore. Now it's like, it's really, really, depressing.
Yeah, more of a depressing song.
Real,
I get that.
Real positive podcast right now.
This isn't going to turn around, but on the note of the year in review from Spotify, fuck Snapchat, Facebook, Google Photos, and all of the bullshit.
Yeah.
This is what happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you should look at all these photos right now. I'm like, stop it. I don't want to do that.
Yep. Yeah, I actually deactivated my Facebook for a few days, not that long ago, because I couldn't. I was tired of seeing the memories and stuff like that. Because especially like 13 years with someone.
Oh.
13.
It's shown, Rich. I just opened Google Photos, and across the top is memories 1, 2, and 3 years ago.
Yeah, 13 years. There was a lot of memories. There was a lot of stuff, and for you too, because you were how long?
Well, it's showing me 3 years ago, so I guess it would have been about 2.5 years.
2.5. Okay. And Rach, I mean, you were 13 years as well.
Yep.
Well, mine pales in comparison for sure.
Yeah, I like to say this. We actually talked about this on an episode we just recorded. Like, to me, it doesn't matter how long of a relationship you had, because, when you're in a relationship with someone, a serious relationship, part of you gets attached to that person. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter if it's, months, years. Like, if you loved that person, you held feelings for that person, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel pain. And it doesn't matter. Like, to me, things that are painful to you, well, they're painful to you. Yeah. So no one can say, well, yours isn't as big of a deal as mine because I was married for 13 years and you weren't. Like, yeah, nobody can say that, Did it hurt, Will?
Yes.
then that's the only measure you have.
We were all with people we were all certain about
Yep.
at some point.
Yeah, it's did you ever talk about like forever, like when you talked about like loving each other and
Yep.
the whole thing? And I have had this really morbid thought. Gosh, where is I wrote it somewhere. I write these thoughts down as I have them, but the gist of it is just like oh god, okay, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Rachel Vamp wanted us.
Vamp.
I was actually going to make a point was
Go.
that the feelings that we have are valid.
Mm-hmm.
No one can tell you otherwise or make you feel otherwise. You know, if they are, then they're not the persons that you really need to be hanging out with. I mean, who is somebody? I mean, okay, you have a friend like Torrin, you have Jeff, right? And he'll call you out on your bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
But at some point, I mean, he can turn into a consoling friend.
Yeah.
You know, those people who are constantly like, oh, they're constantly whining, like, why can't they get over this, you know?
Yeah.
And instead of turning around and being a friend for just a shoulder to lean on, you know, those are the people you need to steer away from. But everybody has feelings, and they're not bad. Even if they make you feel sad, depressed, or anything, they still make you human.
Yeah. I like to say that feelings aren't a problem until you start to dwell in them,
which is a major problem I have.
Until you get lost in those feelings, like, and that's why, you know, I talk about this on another episode.
That's where depression comes in.
But that's why it's so important to have good friends that can pull you out of that can pull you back from that darkness. So I found the quote. I wrote this at the end of January, and since we're in the theme of like really just a positive podcast, let's go ahead and let me read this. It
says, sit here by candlelight.
Yeah, I think candlelight, romantic. Oh, that's just a contradiction.
Read your thing.
Anyway, says the thought of a life without you is not an easy one to bear. It has been some time since you left, and it gets easier all the time. The pain and thoughts are less frequent than they were before, but now when it hits harder. I have moments of sadness, moments when I think back to how things were, the plans we were making, the future we had hoped for, the commitment we made to be together forever, and how I now realize that forever has a time limit.
Damn.
Yeah. I have these thoughts, and I have to write these thoughts, but that's like, you know, I was saying we talk about forever. I mean, those are things you talk about. Like, you know, if you're serious in a relationship, like, nobody goes into a relationship, serious, like, relationship, like a marriage, and it's like, well, this will be great for however long it lasts. Like, you go into it like, I mean, part of the vows are till death do us part. You know? And even if you don't make that relationship, like, the commitment of marriage, you know, I think you still make those commitments to that person. Like, you know, with your ex, Will, you weren't like, I'm going to be with her until I find something better. Like, you were all in. You moved down here to be with her, and, you know, you made that commitment, and you were in that commitment as long as time allowed you to be. You know, time was the only factor that played into it. It wasn't another person. It wasn't anything like that. But that, you know what I mean? Like, time as in you die. Like, you weren't looking for an end to the relationship.
On my side, no.
Yeah, exactly. On your side. That's what I'm talking about. You. We can't speak for the other person, but just you were committed. You were in for the long game. Like, you had no intentions of ending it yourself.
Correct.
And you too, Rach. I mean, you were, you know, obviously you got married. You were committed. And you were in it, you know, in it to the end. And I think the thing is, I really could, the thing I can say with confidence is that we all fought for our relationships as much as we could. Will's got that squinty-eyed look. Like,
yeah, I mean, as much as we could.
You did, exactly, as much as you could. What was it within your power to control, you did what you could.
Very little power.
Yeah,
but yeah, sure.
Fortunately for your situation, yeah. I mean, same thing for me. Like, but over the course of my years together, I did. I fought for her. I fought for that marriage, and you know, I thought I did what was necessary to make the necessary changes or adjustments to, you know, to grow, because we all change throughout a relationship. But that was the thing. It's like I never it's really difficult when you're told that nothing you can do or say will ever make me leave. I'm here forever. I'm here no matter what happens. Like, I was told that so many times. And then when the decision's made by the other person that they're going to leave, and again, like I said, it was a mutual thing. We talked about it. I mean, it's never mutual, first of all. I think if you get down to, like, the core of it, a separation is never mutual. As far as, like, you're both like, yeah, great. Like, somebody's going to get hurt in the process. There's feelings.
Yeah, not... Both parties are never excited, but...
Yeah, exactly.
It can be amicable.
Exactly,
yeah. As well.
And so, for me...
Is that the word?
Amicable.
Mm-hmm.
Amicable, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. I think that was the thing, is, like, in my relationship, like, I never thought forever would have a time limit. I never thought that I would find the end of that. Like, I really believed till death do us part. And we went through a lot. Like, we were an unstoppable team, I thought. And here I am. So it's an interesting thought when you think about, when you think about that forever. Forever means nothing. Yeah, that's you know what I mean. Yeah. So, yeah, we're here. We're all single.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
Yeah, I know. You gotta laugh or you're gonna cry, Will.
I'm fine. Just
Buzzed.
yeah, that mostly.
No. But no, so I mean, I kind of wanted to look at that aspect then of, like, we just went through Valentine's Day, which is the big commercialized holiday of,
it's a bunch of bullshit.
I've never been a fan of it.
Manning Day.
What?
Huh?
Explain.
Empire Records, the movie.
Oh,
whatever. Fuck you too.
yeah. Look, I watch a lot of movies, and I don't know if I've ever actually watched Empire Records. So.
And yet you get on me for not watching certain movies.
Let's look at the list of movies you haven't watched versus the list of movies I haven't watched. Your list's a lot longer.
I didn't even know Empire Records was a movie. So
yeah, it was like 90s, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weak decade of movies from my knowledge.
Yeah,
especially if Liv Tyler's such a great actress.
So,
yeah,
I think the thing that's been hitting me lately, especially this week, which kind of made this podcast difficult for me to get on board with tonight and record.
It took 4 hours.
I know, it did. A lot of cat videos were watched beforehand. But just kind of the whole aloneness and dealing with what it means to be alone. Because I know you and I will have had some conversations about being alone. Mm-hmm. And how, for you, like after your separation, how did you handle that? Like not having that person, because you were together for a couple years and serious, and how'd that go?
Well, I mean, it starts off really rough, of course, and yeah, you realize how much time, for me at least, you realize how much time you have in the day to yourself that you're not giving to that person. In my scenario, the world essentially revolved around the other person. Like, moved here for them, their career was, she was in school, and it was all about her development and helping and pushing for that and everything with that. And I no longer had to do that, and just didn't know what to do with my time. I didn't have to be positive for somebody else. I had to be positive for me, and all that. And yeah, it's just a lot of hours in the day.
Yeah. And I think too, like, what about like being able to just do what you want when you want? Like, not that you had to get permission before, but just like being able to do things without having to think of, well, including somebody else, or like just doing for you.
So I love and hate that. It's great to just go and do whatever I want. No repercussions, no where were you, anything like that. Not that I really had that before, but
you're consciously thinking about the other person, like making sure to respect their.
Well, the hate side of that is it's kind of nice to be cared about in the aspect of where are you?
Yeah.
And so, you die on the street, somebody's going to go think about it eventually. We're going to go to an extreme here.
One real extreme. Wow.
But that's exactly it. Like, I can leave my apartment whenever I want, but, no one's going to know that except me. Which is a little isolating at the same time as freeing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So, with this newfound aloneness...
Sounds so dark.
It does sound dark, but like how did you find those times of like quietness? Like how did that affect you? Like having time to think.
Probably not great.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a lot of internal introspection and plenty of time to do that and think about where faults came into the relationship and plenty of time to reflect on that. And for me, at least, it was obvious to see, even probably before I came to Charlotte, that there were issues. And but I had not really accepted until that moment.
It seems very easy during those times to like slip into those, like you're saying, like those thoughts of like the what ifs and the analyzing and over analyzing things.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's like what you do. I mean, you just constantly fall into a what if, and you just have to kick yourself and stop doing that if you ever want to stop.
Did you find yourself, like, even after you separated, still making decisions, thinking about what the other person would think of the decision?
Maybe for, like, a month.
Yeah. Because I know for me, that was part of my thing after we separated, was even still to recently, I will still make a decision or I'll still do something and think, well, what would she think? Like, what's she going to think about this if she finds out or something like, not even like major things, just like small things, like even like purchases and stuff like that. Like, still thinking, being married, I was always thinking of like, well, I have to discuss it with her first if it's a decision, a financial decision, stuff like that. And not having to do that anymore, like...
In my case, I'd say it's different because, I mean, we weren't married. Our finances were separate, so I didn't really have to think about that too much anyway. But as far as, like, life choices or where I'm going to eat or things like that, I mean, that factor came up for a little while, and occasionally it's still, like, in the back of my head, like, I'm going to go to this place that I know she hates, like... I like it, so it doesn't bother me now, but at the time, it would have been an issue. Yeah,
like, I can order a pizza with mushrooms on it now. Because my ex didn't eat mushrooms. So now I can eat mushrooms on a pizza. I can eat ricotta in a calzone. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a dig.
Rachel, you're awfully quiet over there.
You guys got this handled. I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. So, what about for you? How 13 years married. How did things progress for you after you separated?
So my story's a little different because it was my decision. So I was kind of like the ex in the situation of, like, for instance, for you, Doran, like I was the one that made the decision to leave.
It's really kind of the first time you've really, like, talked about this kind of more in depth, isn't it?
I think a lot about it. Sometimes can't even really talk. It's not a regretful decision. Still kind of processing a lot because...
The what if decision.
Yeah. So this week I had to sign some papers regarding my daughter's care. And it really fucked me up. I'm wondering, like, if I didn't make the decision I made, where would I be? What, care would she get? Would I still be happy? Would I be okay with pretending to be happy? for the sake of my daughter, to make it easier on everybody else. But ultimately, I know that that's not the best thing for her. Felt like I battle internally, not about the decision, but about how it makes me feel. I feel guilty a lot. I feel like I failed as a mom. And I've felt more alone even in my 13 years of marriage. Probably the last 3 were the hardest. So an aspect of, why I don't regret it is because I've already mourned my marriage. Now I'm dealing with the repercussions of those feelings.
Yeah, I think we should let people know that your marriage, I mean, you ended again amicably. I mean, you and your ex still have very open communication. I think it's safe to say that you guys have a good friendship.
Yeah.
You still talk through things and work through things.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean,
there's respect there and everything.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I mean, there has to be a line of a certain degree where we can't really cross.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't want to communicate those, but he realizes he needs to focus on himself and deal with him.
Boundaries.
Exactly. Boundaries. We had a big turning point this past weekend where he admitted that he was verbally abusive, and he apologized to me for it.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's a really big thing. So it also kind of messed with my head, and I mean, there was so much going on within the past week that I think it just kind of finally hit me in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, just being the weight of it all, just kind of as a female, we like to put on faces for everybody else, that we're strong, independent women, hear us roar, that type of thing. Because there's that feeling of being judged or, oh, she's, too overly emotional, or she's, too difficult to handle because she's always complaining about something, or, always in her feelings. Women are viewed as these delicate flowers, so most of, I guess, more and older, people. I don't really know what I'm saying at the moment, but no, what I mean is that in society, we're viewed as these beautiful people that, have these, still to this day, we're the moms, we, stay home, we do cooking, we do cleaning. And I see that the society is changing. Women are more accepted into the workplace and everything, but
I will say, though, to that, I feel like still it's more socially acceptable for women to have feelings than for men.
Yes. No, you are right.
I think, I know for guys, we're not encouraged to deal with your feelings.
Right.
Or have them,
Depends on your company.
It does. But, I think just generally society is guys, suck it up. You're men, we can't show emotion, we can't be hurt,
Right,
yeah.
Right. And I think it's just, in general, it's a double standard for both genders.
Yeah.
I feel like you were getting to a point.
My point was basically, I internalize a lot. I try to put on a face to make myself seem that I've got my shit together, that I'm moving forward. And I am, going back to school, doing nights. So that kind of also plays a factor, just being tired, emotions and stuff. But I'm proud of myself for pushing on and doing what I'm doing. I'm happy to be going back to school. It's doing things that I'm passionate about. And hopefully it can lead to bigger and better things for me in the future. And ultimately for my daughter. Everything I do is for her.
Yeah. You've got a very unique situation too, like, because people don't know your full story, and we need to do an episode where you kind of just lay out your story.
Yes, you do.
But just like for the listeners, Rachel has a very unique situation in which the circumstances around her daughter, but ultimately, like right now, your daughter is in the care of your parents.
Yes.
Just temporarily for different reasons. She needs, like, there's just some different things she needs.
She needs care.
Yeah, care and therapy and
things
some
that
different things.
I unfortunately don't have the ability of taking care of myself.
Yeah, because she's still, what? She's just
turned 2 on Monday.
2. So, yeah, she's still really young. And, and your ex, he's got, like, his stuff that he's working on and taking care of. There's just some very unique circumstances around the whole situation. So, yeah, that's why when she talks about this, we haven't gone into detail on it yet, but just know that it's more complex than just, a normal situation. Not a very bad situation. Yeah. Not a bad thing or anything. It's just unique.
It's the cards that I got dealt, pretty much. Playing them as best as I can.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
I was going to say, honestly. I think, all things considered, even though, like, it was your decision, I think for, like, my ex's point, like, you get to a point where you have somebody in the relationship has to make a decision if it's not right. Like, for you, for the two of you, you've got to make that choice. Like, I thought my situation, I thought things were fine. And they were for me, but they weren't for her, and in her perspective and, her mind, her world, it wasn't right for her anymore. So she made that decision, and that's her decision because, again, she's got to, I don't want to sound wrong, but she's got to look out for herself. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, your self is more important than catering to the other person, and not that either of us were. It was time. We had evolved into 2 different people, and it just wasn't working anymore, and it was time to go our separate ways. And I think for you, that's kind of the point you got to was, realizing a lot of things, and that it was time that you needed to make a change because you weren't happy anymore. Things had changed in your life, in both of you, and in order for yourself to... And it's not just about finding happiness.
No.
It's about finding yourself. Doing what's best for you and your development.
It started to affect me physically and mentally.
Yeah.
To the point where I was having complete breakdowns at work. Just as an example. Not wanting to go back into the house after coming home from work. Sitting in my car for 20 minutes. Yeah. 30 minutes.
And not to say that, like, your ex is a bad person.
No, by
it's just
no means.
you for you.
I've never put him in that light at all.
Exactly.
I've never spoken poorly about him. Even when we have conversations, he's the one who's like, this is my fault, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, what hit me was going back to, the aspect of forever is I was the one saying that.
Yeah.
I was in that position to tell him it was forever. So what kind of person does that make me to make the choice to leave?
I think that makes you the bigger person given your scenario and circumstance.
Yeah, and it doesn't make you a bad person.
No.
I think it just puts you in that position of self-aware, and self-awareness is huge to where, like Will's saying, the bigger person being able to say, hey, this isn't working anymore. We're not working as a couple. And again, it wasn't like you just made the decision one day and you're like, I'm done. It was like there was conversation. There was, talking through things and realizing that, we've tried and we've done stuff and it's just not working. I mean, that's how it was for me too. It's, we talked through stuff and realized it. And so you made that decision that the better solution was that you needed to go your own ways, and you guys talked about it and agreed upon it. So it's not like you just ghosted him and left one day. It was a progression. It was,
You still have contact.
Yeah, and you still have contact. So, what does it make you? It makes you a person who, I don't want to say like matured, but to a level, it is maturity. It's, you got to a level where you started to understand yourself and realizing that in order for yourself to be the best version of yourself, things needed to change.
And that's amazing. There's no shame in that. And I will say for my own relationship and breakup that I was not the bigger person on that side. And honestly, like, I am thankful for that we are not together. Not because of like hatred or anything. I'm thankful that she saw the issues and ended it. It could have been under better circumstances, in my opinion. But overall, I think it has gone the way it should have gone.
Yeah.
So there's no shame in being the person that ends it.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think, in the end, too, I think we still hope, I know I do, that I still hope for the best for my ex. I hope that, because of the situation and her choices, that she can be a better person than she was with me. Because if I can't help her be the best version of herself, then clearly it's not the right thing. And I've already seen her start to develop and change and get the help she needed and rediscover who she is and grow. Unfortunately, it's not with me. And I don't want to dwell on the what ifs, like, could we have gotten there together? Sure, maybe we could have, but we don't know, and there's no way to know. And you don't do yourself any good by dwelling on, what could.
The net positive is the good part.
Yeah.
Would you say in your relationship that you're both doing better, Rachel?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. On his end, too. I mean, he's discussed things with me about, his improvement. He's doing things that, he couldn't do for a long time. He's gotten back into them and starting new things even. Basically, he's redefining himself in the aspect of, 13 years is now behind us.
Yeah.
So, and he, got his issues dealt with.
Yeah.
So now what does that mean with
That's amazing.
with
yeah,
him?
it was the same thing for him. Like, I knew him, like, he was a friend of mine, and he wasn't a bad person by any means, and it's, even just from stuff you've told me, like, yeah, he's really starting to figure out who he is again. And I think that's something that I've noticed in these relationships is, like, I know in my relationship, I lost a part of myself. Mm-hmm. And I know
absolutely
she lost a part of herself as well. And not because of anything that we did to the other person, but just when you get in these relationships and the longer they go, if you have things you haven't dealt with or you don't get the right kind of help that you need, not that it's even major things, just like if you don't get counseling or you don't like work on yourself, you don't understand yourself, then you work so hard to cater to the other person, or you just get into a rhythm of comfort, of complacency, and you don't think about those things, and they end up eroding you. And again, it's no fault of anybody. It's just what happens if things go unchecked over time.
And that loops back to what you were asking me about. What did I do in the days after my breakup and whatnot? And it's just that. It's figuring out who you are again. Trying to reclaim what you'd given away and take it back for yourself and reapply it to your own life. How you were doing it before.
Yeah, I know for me there
really
were times,
challenging.
Yeah, it is. And there were times for me even, I was like, am I even the person I thought I was? Like when I was with her, I'm like, maybe that's not really even who I am.
And you change.
Yeah.
During your relationship, you change from who you were before the relationship. I'm a different person, for sure.
See, so much had happened with me in so much time that, like, I didn't even recognize the person I was. And I didn't remember fully the person I was before. And I think for me, and this is kind of an important thing, I think, is that I didn't have the desire to be the person I was before. I didn't want to revert back to what I was, because if I went back to where I was, then I'm resetting to before 13 years of life and experience.
Yep.
And in my opinion, that's worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're basically forfeiting everything you've known and grown from. So
you're wasting 13 years.
Exactly, you're wasting 13 years. So it's taking those experiences and learning from them. I saw a very good quote recently. I think it was actually Mark Groves. Great podcast, by the way, Mark Groves podcast. But it was, don't look at where you fell, look at where you slipped. Because, when you figure out where you've slipped, when you figure out where you've stumbled, that's when you figure out where the problem was. Because the problem isn't when you landed. The problem is what caused you to fall. And so for me, it was like looking back through my life, looking back through 13 years and figuring out what had caused me to become the person I was. And even going back before that to, my childhood and growing up and like what issues I hadn't dealt with from that. Because I want to be the best version of myself, not an old version of myself. So what up for you guys? Like, I think Rachel, obviously we see just from what you said that there's already growth in you. Mm-hmm. And then the thing is, we got to remember too, there's nothing that says you have to grow or you have to change in a certain time frame. Right. Like, there's no formula. There's no thing that, 3 months after your relationship, you should be here. 5 months, you should be here.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah. There's nothing that says that. Like, there's no formula. If there was, then there would be no people with issues.
Well, it's also no two people are the same.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think for you, you, from my perspective, I can say you're already becoming a better version of yourself. Not that the version of yourself before was bad or wasn't good.
It's just a altered version.
Exactly. And so you're becoming an improved version, a new version, a more wise version because of your experiences. So how do you think that you've grown? So maybe that's the challenge as we kind of get towards the end of this. We start to wrap this up. Yeah, I mean, it's it. We're 45 minutes in.
We have to go 2 hours.
We're not going to
therapy.
Part 2.
But this could take a while.
Every group therapy has to be an hour longer than the last.
Exponential increase.
Yep.
But so this is the challenge. Look at your life. Look at where you are now, and don't look at where you fell or what happened, what went wrong. But look at how have you improved? How have you grown? Because I think this is going to be a whole podcast, but I think it's so easy for us to get into a negative mindset where we dwell on the negative, even about ourselves, and we speak negatively to ourselves. You even kind of started to do this a little bit just now. I'm a bad person. I made bad decisions or this or that. The more you tell yourself, the more you tell yourself you're a bad person, the more you're going to believe you're a bad person, even if you're not. I mean, you're not. Yeah. None of us are really bad people unless you're a serial killer. But yeah.
Well, it's not that I was telling myself I'm a bad person. It was questioning whether or not I was.
Yes.
It was questioning my identity.
Yeah.
Who am I? How do I really feel? So yeah, that's really what it was. It wasn't necessarily talking negatively, about myself.
But at the same time, you start questioning, am I a bad person? That could very easily lead into negative thoughts of yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you start sitting there am I a bad person? I know, for me, I'll start to think of things in my mind, and I will start to convince myself that maybe I was a bad person. Maybe I was the problem. So that's something you gotta be very careful of. Introspection is great, but you gotta be careful.
Tricky.
It is. So look at what you've gone through, and where you are now, and just a couple things how have you seen yourself grow? How have you seen yourself improve from where you were before?
I'm definitely more cognizant of my existence, of my personality, of what I'm capable of, what I've put on the back burner for so long. just developing that in the sense of, what do I really like? Because for the longest time, I was just going with the flow, doing what needed to be done. I've never actually had to think for me, what I wanted, who I wanted to be. And in the last group therapy, I mentioned, like, just a couple days prior to recording that, I mentioned I wanted to go back to school. And here I am, 2 months later. Back in school. Actually, starting school, starting this week. And, or this past week, rather. And I couldn't be more happy with that decision. So as scary as it is, I mean, I'm years old, and starting school, at that age, it's like, can you teach an old dog new tricks? But
gosh, you're not that
oh,
old.
Shut up. But I'm more excited about it that I'm taking that step. Like, scary, not scary, anxious, not anxious, whatever. I'm still taking that step. I'm still moving forward.
Yeah.
If that's all I can do is just move forward, then I'm improving.
Yeah. I think it's because I've known you for a few years now. Mm-hmm. I think for the first time, I'm seeing you have a sense of certainty about yourself. Mm. You have this goal, this objective. You're like, I'm getting my cosmetology license. Mm-hmm. You're pursuing something that was a passion. And so I think for the first time, like before, you didn't really have a direction. You didn't know what you were going to do. There was a lot of uncertainty. Now you've got that direction. You know where you're going, and mm-hmm. you don't. I think know the ultimate goal was going to happen with your licensing, but you know that you can finally achieve something that you've been wanting to do for a long time.
It opens so many doors for me. I could do many, many things with it. But, the fact that the future is mine to mold from having that certificate, from having that degree or, whatever, I can choose what I want to do with it and what I want to do. I can become my own boss, make my own hours so I can spend more time with my daughter.
You're in control of your life.
Exactly.
And I think when we're in relationships, it's not that we're not in control of our lives, but we are co-piloting with someone else. Mm-hmm. And every decision we make, we have to factor them in because that's just how it goes. And
well, because you want them to be a part of your life.
Exactly.
You want to share that aspect.
And that's why I like to say co-pilot with them because you're doing it together. You make the decisions together, you steer the ship together. And there's compromise in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
but now...
There has to be.
Yeah, exactly. They're in a good relationship. There's compromise, and I think you finally have for the first time. I think it's a blessing and a curse. The aloneness. The aloneness is that curse because you think a lot, you dwell on things and the what ifs, but then that blessing that comes with it is that you can make decisions for yourself now. And,
Who's
for
there to stop you?
For you and your daughter, like that's all you have to think about is you and your daughter. You don't have to make decisions and decide, for your ex anymore, mm-hmm. and you don't have to clear it with them.
Mm-hmm. Like buying a car.
Yeah, buying a car. Just doing what you want to do. As long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, it's like, you're living your life. Mm-hmm. You're making progress. Will.
What?
You.
What was the
How would you say, so looking at yourself even before your relationship and then after your relationship, what do you see, how have you improved as a person since your separation,
How have I improved as a person?
Yeah.
I should have been paying more attention when you asked her this and anticipated this question, but I was not ready at all.
I don't know Will that well, but I will say that I feel like you have more boundaries.
Really?
It's a sense, but I feel like you have more boundaries. Or you're learning them at least?
It's in certain ways, yes. I do have more, and yes, I do have more boundaries in certain ways as far as like trust.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I would say I'm more like confident in doing anything, honestly. Compared to who I was in my relationship and before that. Mostly it's, I would say, out of not giving a fuck as much would be the best description for it. That's a hard thing to answer for me because I was a pretty independent person beforehand and maintained that pretty well during the relationship as well. As far as like personal growth,
right?
Or professional growth, but yeah, how have I changed? I know I have. It's just really hard to articulate. I guess just more confident in decisions I make would be the best way I could say it.
That's a good thing, though. I mean,
I agree. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. I think for me, it's, I know that right after she left and everything happened, I know immediately my close friends.
That's perfect.
Oh, I was like, I know that my close friends were already saying, like, you're a different person already. Like, we can see you act different. You have a different aura about you.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, I know that it's been difficult. And there's times when it's still difficult, but I feel my confidence coming back. I feel, I can make decisions better now. I'm making smarter decisions. Since she left, I'm making smarter decisions about my finances, about my schedule and planning. I was always a very structured person, and now, since I only have to focus on myself and not somebody else, I'm able to, I don't want to say do what I want, because that sounds selfish, but in a sense, I mean, you need to be a little selfish with yourself, I think
I do what I want.
Yeah, I do what I want. But
I won't say I've made smarter decisions more confidently. I've just made decisions more confidently.
It's not necessarily smarter, but decisions are happening.
I think they're better for me overall.
Well, that's there you go. But yeah, so for me, like, I've been able to pursue, things I've wanted to pursue. I mean, starting this podcast, not that she would have ever discouraged anything like that. She didn't. She encouraged and pushed me to do things. But I have the time now to come home and work on a podcast, create stuff, work on different things, and even kind of, really planning and debating on going back to school and finishing my degree, my master's degree in psychology. And, so I think it's things like that. I'm just making smarter decisions, planning better.
Definitely planning better.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so I see myself improving. I see myself becoming a stronger person. A better version of myself, really. And,
well, it's about finding yourself again.
Yeah. Yep. Finding yourself again.
Or redefining who you
that
are.
Too.
Because I know for me, looking on the inside, I am nothing like what I was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Completely different person. And even after having Amelia, and I was doing, I was going through major anxiety and depression and postpartum, all that kinds of stuff. I kept saying that I want to be who I used to be. This is not me. This doesn't feel right. That type of thing. And it was actually you, Torn, who snapped me out of it. Because you had said you're trying to find the you from the past when you need to define who you are now and going forward. And that really resonated with me because I was like, you're right. I'm not who I was before I knew my ex. You know, I'm not who I was 5 years ago. Hell, I'm not even who I was 3 years ago.
You're not who you were
a year ago,
6 months ago before you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, we're constantly changing. So to say that you want to go back to what you used to be, you know, you used to be happy, you used to be this, you used to be that. Like, I used to be more creative or whatever. That's not you anymore.
Yeah. You've
changed. Not necessarily for a bad, but it could be good or bad, whichever, you know, just depending on which life you're going. But anyway, but either way, you're not that person anymore. You've got to start figuring out your identity now and your purpose now. And then it leads into a future, you know, whatever that might be. But that decision starts in the present, not in the past.
Yeah, I think, like I've said on another episode, it's okay to mourn. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be sad. You need to give yourself permission to not be okay. But at the same time, you need to make sure that, again, you're growing, you're developing, you're aware of yourself, and that you have friends and people that can surround you so that you don't get lost in that. And I think that's what happens with some people is they get out of relationships or anything. It can be anything. A phase of life ends for them, and they don't ever find the best version of themselves. They're constantly looking for what they lost or what they were before, and they get stuck going backwards. You know,
that or even falling back into a loop of a repeated pattern as well. Like pursuing something, you know, that's not going to do anything.
One of the worst things that I see, and it just breaks my heart, is when I see people who end relationships and immediately get into another relationship. Like, they don't take the time to mourn, to process, and it's dangerous because
it's very dangerous.
You're at that point. I mean, then we get into things like codependency and all that. But you know,
you do a podcast on this story.
Oh no, I'm going to. There's podcasts, but that's the thing is, like, you have these people that they break up with someone, and then within, you know, some the next day, but you know, within a matter of time, they're in another relationship, and they're never figuring. They're searching for their significance in themselves in other people, and if you're looking for that, if you're looking to other people to fulfill you and to fill a void in you, you're screwed. Like, you're never going to find it because people are going to let you down. People are not perfect. We are not perfect. So it's once you understand yourself and you're good with who you are, then you can be good for someone else. You know, so that's a whole nother podcast, a whole nother topic.
It is. I deeply love everything you just said. It applies a lot to my
I think I actually went into like a little bit of a tangent on one podcast where I was like, those of you who like keep jumping into relationships, like, just stop it. Like, just take some time for yourself.
Actually, episode 5.
Was it episode 5?
Yes, it was.
Okay, look at that.
Like 2 months, just be alone.
Just be alone.
You'll live.
I think, and that's the thing. Like, with aloneness, like, there is.
Oh, there's a lot of good in it.
There's power.
Yeah.
In aloneness, like, you know, we talked about this. Like, for me, I come home now and I'm alone. It's me and it's the dog, and I came home and one night, like, I made dinner from scratch, like a big dinner. And then another night I came home and I started rearranging and reorganizing and dusting the walls of my house. Like, it's this time to do things, I think, that subconsciously we want to do, but we never do because we're so busy. I mean, like, God, social media and everything teaches you hustle, grind. Like, look, that's good to an extent to, like, push yourself to do things. But, like, there's times where you just got to slow down.
You still got to keep your house in order.
You got to keep your house in order because that's the thing, man. It's great advice. Like, if your house isn't in order, nothing else is going to be in order. Mm-hmm. Like, if you can't take care of yourself, then how in the hell can you be good for anybody else or anything else? Mm-hmm. What you got, Will?
Uh-oh.
What you got?
It was, I don't know, good and dark at the same time. The true aloneness that you were asking me about beginning of this episode, that's what a lot of it's for, is figuring out who you are again, loving yourself, cleaning your apartment a fuck ton, because I did that a lot and still do that a lot, honestly, mostly because of my personality. But yeah, you don't know who you are until you're stuck with you.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta wrestle with yourself.
I struggled to say that at the beginning because before my last relationship, I was single for quite a while before that as well. And, you know, I learned who I was at that point. And it was more just like reassessing and refiguring out that person again. And what's changed from that point previously to now. Yeah. And just nurturing it and figuring it out. Because you can't love you can't love anything else.
Very true. And I've really kind of looked at this as an opportunity, like a second chance for myself in life. Because, you know, my ex was my second girlfriend, my first real deep relationship. And we got married and we're together for 13 years. Before that, I dated one person. And I didn't date anybody before that. I didn't really, like, do relationships or anything. And so I look at it as a second chance because early on when I was younger, like right out of college, I had a decent paying job, but I was wasteful. I was not smart with my money or decisions or anything, and went into debt and just made some bad decisions and got in over my head on car payments and credit cards and stuff like that. And now I'm single again. I'm at a different place in my life, you know, more experience, decent paying job, and I have an opportunity to make smart decisions. And I guess you could say, like, experience what it's like to be single with a good paying job and time, where friends are your focus, where myself is the focus. And if I want to travel. If I want to do something, you know. If my bills are paid and I want to, like, you know, treat yourself and buy something, I'm going to do it, you know. And as long as, like, my bills are paid and everything's taken care of and I've got savings, like, there's no shame in that, you know. You know, if I want to take myself out to dinner, I'm going to take myself out to dinner. I'm going to go to Yume. I'm going to get some of the best ramen in Charlotte. Absolutely. Shout out Yume. Which we need to go there. We haven't been there in a while.
It's been like 2 weeks.
No, it's been longer than 2 weeks, Will.
Longer than that, yes.
Bro.
We went there with Eric.
It's been longer than 2 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks.
No, longer than that, man.
What?
Yeah.
It's been like a month or more. Yeah.
Damn, their whole menu's probably different, but anyway.
Yeah. Actually, they have...
It's not about you, man.
They have added more stuff. More delicious Japanese food.
I was going to say, treat yourself. I just bought myself a drone. I'm real happy about it.
I'm happy about that. That's exciting. Get some sweet drone footage. Yeah, so, hey, aloneness.
No, we still have...
We're not going another hour.
We have an hour left, Torin. Hold on, I'm going to get another beer.
We're gonna wrap this up.
We're going to shift topics mid-podcast.
Will's doing the whole...
We started off talking about music.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about music because of aloneness.
What's your favorite song, Torin?
This podcast is our post-Valentine's Day assessment of...
We didn't even talk about that. Yeah. We didn't even talk about Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there's our next hour. There we go.
We didn't talk about... We kind of did in that... I
had a weird one.
We're alone.
Will?
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm not helping this situation.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, this whole podcast is just crashing right now at the very end.
Yeah, thanks. He'll make me fucking cry.
Well,
appreciate it.
The last group therapy ended with me in the bathroom.
Yelling.
Yeah. That it was a good podcast. So we need to get to that point.
Or you could go get another drink and yell from the kitchen.
I'm not going to drink it if we're going to be done for the night.
We'll wait until you're up from the table and then wrap the podcast.
No, I'm going to stay right here. You can't end it as long as I sit here.
Blow out the candles.
I'll talk in the dark.
Is there a whole lot to say about Valentine's Day? I mean, I think really the whole Valentine's Day, it wasn't talking about Valentine's Day. It was just talking about kind of
how we felt.
Yeah, like really how we felt. And I think we've kind of covered that, you know,
I felt good for the first time.
Valentine's Day?
Felt confused.
Well, I mean,
it was weird.
I'm not going to speculate, but
it was,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, yes, it was weird, being alone and single, but at the same time, Valentine's Day has always kind of been like, it was always more of a letdown.
Yeah, well, like, we never went out and did stuff because, like, we did not want to deal with the crowds.
Oh, I would say, fuck it.
Yeah, I was not,
Bring it.
not a big fan of that.
Well, I mean,
we had planned a big, like, Valentine's dinner, and we're going to have a bunch of our single friends over, and then none of them made it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
It wasn't just you, it was other people, too.
Oh, they didn't make it either?
They weren't able to make it. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So... It did. There was a big disappointment. We bought shrimp. Like, we were going to grill shrimp and everything.
oh my god.
And the shrimp, we bought them the night before, and the next day I opened them and started to cook them. They were bad.
Yeah.
That's shitty. Where'd you
And
get
they
it?
were fresh shrimp from the grocery store down the street.
Which
the good
grocery
one.
store? Throw them under the bus on this
Not with them on
podcast.
blast on the podcast. But it was really surprising.
It's probably
Very.
Food Line.
No, it wasn't. As I said, it was the nicer grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that narrows it down for Charlotte.
But that was a big letdown.
I'll reflect mine back to my issues with Google Photos again.
Uh-oh.
2 and 3 years ago, did large things for Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So, those were lovely reminders to look back on. And hate.
I can imagine.
Not hate, but just like, come on.
Yeah.
You don't know Google, but come on, don't do that.
Yeah.
Can
For
you just
me, it was
delete them?
I've been
So they don't
deleting
show up
memories
next-
as they come.
I'm
Next time?
on the fence for that. So, they're not bad memories by any means.
No.
They're annoying in the moment.
But if they keep you in the past...
Well, they're annoying in the moment. They're nice to look back on like,
Are
oh,
they chains holding you back from moving forward?
No,
Okay,
absolutely not.
there you go.
Like, I've deleted some, but there's a lot that I've kept. Like, that was a really fun time. I do want to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't hate this person
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
anymore.
I was going to say, I don't think anybody would blame you if you did.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's not the case. I don't want to talk ill of anybody.
No, of course.
Um,
I get that.
But yeah, they're pleasant memories. They're nice to look back on.
Yeah.
They're not holding me back.
That's good.
I'm past it. It was annoying in the moment on Valentine's Day. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, my struggles have been, as I'm cleaning the house and reorganizing and stuff, finding letters that she wrote me or cards that she had given me, and reading the contents of it. And a lot of it was like, so glad, like, I'm with you forever and we're doing life together and this and that. I'm like, oh, here we are.
Oh, I get that shirt I'm wearing right now. We got together when on a trip, and
this is why
can't wear it without remembering.
this is why I will never get like a mutual tattoo with a significant
Oh
other.
no, I would never do that.
Yep.
Mostly because it's probably not going to be a good tattoo.
Don't look at me, Tori.
I'm not
Oh, you
saying
did
that,
it?
I'm not
Oh.
saying that to throw shade on you, but I'm just saying, like, for me, like, I don't want anything that permanent because
I was young and dumb, okay? I mean, I got married when I was young.
How young?
I wasn't even of legal drinking age.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys got tattoos together, didn't you?
Yeah, that was our wedding present from our family.
Yeah.
One of our family members.
Look, if you do that, that's on you. Personally, I just
It's no
I know.
names, so it's
Yeah.
easy, to kind of.
yeah.
I don't know if I'll cover it up or not, though.
Tattoos are tough.
It's a memory,
Yeah.
Like you.
There's everyday objects I have. There's coffee mugs. There's shirts. There's fucking. Literally.
Me, like most of my houses.
Yeah, it's
still
your house.
hurt, Yeah.
It's pretty much everything I own as well, because that's what
we
I
own
had at
the
time.
damn house together.
Yeah.
I dwell in the place where the memories are.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just blanked. Because I wasn't expecting to go down that road.
I'm just adding curveballs in to extend this out.
Yeah, you are.
Just chipping away at the time over there. Just adding more time. No, but I mean, I think that's been difficult for me, though, is the memories. Because I'm a very sentimental person. Mm-hmm. And emotional. I'm very deep and emotional. Very thoughtful. But I am. I'm
brooding over there in the candlelight.
Okay, Bruce.
What?
I
don't know why that was funny.
I said, okay, Bruce.
Bruce?
Because you're brooding.
See? We'll get it.
Wow. All right. Yeah, cool.
Bruce Wayne?
Oh, I didn't get that at all. Yeah.
One of the biggest Batman fans over here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fan of Christopher Nolan's work. Not so much Batman himself.
Still.
Who's Batman?
Batman broods.
First actor that comes to mind. Who's Batman for you?
Christian Bale.
What?
Who's Batman
Who's
for
Batman
you?
for you?
Oh, oh my god, his name just...
Which movie did he do?
Not the nipples.
Not the nipples.
Not Bat Nipples. That was
Michael
Clooney.
Keaton.
Yeah,
Thank
Keaton.
you.
Okay. So Tim Burton's Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, my brain just kind of went like
Batman and
this.
Batman Returns. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Tim Burton.
he did Catwoman, so...
True. She was a good Catwoman.
She was.
She was a really
Michelle
good
Pfeiffer
Catwoman.
was amazing.
Yeah.
A whole lot better than Halle Berry.
Agreed.
Oh, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, that one doesn't exist.
But Anne Hathaway was a good Catwoman.
She
Yes.
was, yeah.
Mainly because Anne Hathaway is just beautiful. But
that makes her a good Catwoman, Tori?
that helps.
She's a good actress as well.
She absolutely is, but she's beautiful. Where were we going with all of this? Oh, brooding. You got sidetracked about brooding. But there was a point that I was trying to make. Again, we're off the rails, crashing and burning.
Rachel's on my side for the full 2 hours here.
What were we talking about? We were talking about dwelling on the past and...
I don't know, pause and
things.
rewind
And I'm not going to pause and rewind it. Not even going to edit this. We're just going to keep rolling with it. I don't edit the podcasts.
Ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be cutting pauses out, personally.
No, some of these pauses are dramatic pauses.
Not when I'm pausing. I'm just collecting my thoughts. It might sound dramatic, but it's just me trying to think of what word to say
Dun,
next.
dun, dun. Crazy cat videos. What?
I don't even remember what I was saying now. We were talking about memories and things like that. And,
Yeah.
Sentimental stuff and things. Okay. And, anyway. I don't remember the point. But no, we are going to land this plane that's already on fire.
Let me land it. We're supposed to issue a challenge, right?
We did issue the challenge earlier.
We did?
We did?
Yeah.
What?
That's what I said. I said the challenge this episode should be to look at where you are now compared to where you were, and come up with some positives about yourself. Look and identify a couple things about yourself that are different now in a positive way.
Do you have a different challenge, Will?
Do a different challenge? Or are you just making shit up on the fly?
Well, the last group therapy, I had like 4 questions to pose to everybody.
This is true.
Yeah.
So my question for the group is...
He's really trying to extend this to 2 hours.
My question is, how are we going to end this?
That's not my question. My question is... I am the captain now.
This is my podcast, Will.
I believe I also said that.
This is my podcast, Will.
Yeah. Anyway,
my picture is on the podcast cover.
Yep, that's me. I'm Hispanic looking, and yeah. Anyway.
Brooding.
And brooding. Hispanic and brooding, yes. He's smiling and happy. My question is, what was your challenge earlier?
Wow, we're really off the rails.
He's also had another beer.
No!
He hasn't even gotten it yet. He hasn't even gotten one!
During the podcast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Alright, well we're gonna wrap it up here and end it. I'm sure we'll be doing another group therapy.
Act fast enough.
So, Will...
We're supposed to end it on a positive note.
We ended on a positive note.
What's the positive note?
Positive note is that this was a great episode, and we're all doing better than we were.
fine.
We're improving.
What do you have to say, Will?
Well, hey, seriously,
Pouty face.
thanks for joining me. Will, Rachel, I'm sure we'll be doing more of these group therapies.
We'll see.
Well, wait, it's not your podcast, Will.
I'm upset.
Well, good. Next time, come with your thoughts collected and your questions.
I was prepared for a different podcast. Sorry.
What were you prepared for?
I wasn't prepared at all. That's the problem.
Doesn't matter what type of podcast it was. You just wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Neither
Well,
was I.
back to the cat videos and the
Oh yeah, that's what we were doing before
the
this.
sappy music. No more sappy
No
music.
more
We're done
sapping,
with the sappy
please.
music. Yeah.
I've done enough
Cat
crying
music
for one
and,
night.
Cat music?
Did I say cat music?
Said cat.
Cats, boots and cats and boots
Well,
and cats and boots
like
and
I
cats
said,
and boots
I
and cats.
made a Spotify playlist for my cat.
You did.
Oh my
You
god,
did.
you did!
That's what we're gonna listen to.
Oh my gosh. All right, folks. Well, before I get
Draft.
flagged for copyright infringements, thanks for joining us on another episode of Insights into a Soul. Will, Rachel, oh my gosh. Here goes.
Sorry, I'm done.
Copyright. Getting flagged for copyrights.
It wasn't even a second long.
yeah.
Okay.
No. So, thanks for joining me on this podcast, guys. Thanks to everyone who tunes in, for all the feedback, for the positive reviews and the messages. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you go to insightsintoasoul.com. It is now live. You can also email us, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas for other podcast topics. And until next time, see you guys.
Yeah, I just want to echo Torin. Thanks for joining us on this podcast. Insights into the Soul. It's been a great experience for Torin and
I'm just going to fade
everyone involved
as it goes and the music fades
If you have
out.
any ideas or insights for our souls to talk about, just send us messages.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Insights into a Soul. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe and to share it with your friends. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Insights into a Soul, on Instagram, @TorinH, and if you have suggestions for future episodes or topics, or if you'd like to be on the podcast, contact us, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com.